Hi, good evening, Star Founder members of Universitas Ciputra School of Business Makassar, and for all the participants. Please let me introduce myself. I'm Tirza, and I'm a representative from marketing team of Universitas Ciputra School of Business Makassar, and also as the host of this webinar. Um, Right now, we are proudly present to you our first CEO Forum webinar with the theme CEO Forum, the power of business plan for startup beginner, with our keynote speaker who have a lot of experience in startup, Mr. Tiger Fong, the CEO of Cargo Tech. He already joined with us. Hi, Mr. Tiger Fong. Hi, how was your day?
Hello. Good. Thanks for having me. Can you hear
Yes.
me okay?
Uh, what?
You hear me okay?
Yes.
Great.
Okay. Okay. Just for your information, CEO Forum is our several main program at Universitas Ciputra Makassar, and it's held especially for our startup students and for everyone who have interest in startup sector. And it's free for everyone who want to join with us. So stay tuned with us. Follow our social media account to get the latest news for the next CEO Forum webinar. Okay, back to our topic today. Must be all of you are curious about how or what is the first step to build your own startup, or how much important the business startup for your startup in early stage. You will find out that answer and discuss more about it with the expert. Okay, that's our Universitas Ciputra facility. And okay, before we start our discussions today, first let's listen up the opening speech from the chairman of Universitas Ciputra School of Business Makassar, Dr. Insinyur Tony Antonio, Master of Engineering. To Mr. Tony Antonio, time is yours.
Thank you, Tirsa. Can you hear my voice, Tirsa?
Yeah, I can hear that.
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me, Tirsa?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for good afternoon, everybody, especially good afternoon to Mr. Tiger Feng. Welcome to Universitas Ciputra's webinar series. We are very glad to have you here to share the CEO Forum. I believe that as an expert and as practitioner in entrepreneurship, you will give us a lot of inspiration and insight to the participants. This serial webinar is designed to embrace the opening of the Universitas Ciputra Business School next August. So I think all the participants here are very happy to have you and to have your sharing. And all participants, welcome. Selamat sore, selamat datang, selamat menikmati banyak insight bersama Mr. Tiger Feng. And also all the marketing team, thank you for designing this serial webinar. So, Mr. Tiger Feng, again, thank you for the opportunity to have you here. We believe that it is not only the first time, but we will have another opportunity to meet you. I just see you from the web, but I think you are very energetic and very young also. Thank you. Let's welcome the webinar.
Thank you, Mr. Tony Antonio, for the opening speech. And now, before we start our discussion today, I want to take a selfie together. Can you guys turn your camera on, please? May you all, can you turn your camera? Okay, now, can you give me the E sign hand in the right hand? This is in Ciputra, we call it Salam Entrepreneur. Can you give E sign and it's okay? I will count it down.
Entrepreneur greeting.
Yep, entrepreneur greeting. Thank you, Mr. Tony. In 3, 2, 1. For slide 1, okay. For second slide, and then for the third slide. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, also, as we all watched from the previous video, Universitas Ciputra have 3 success paths that you can all choose based on your passion or interest. First, family business. Here, students will learn about how to develop your family business and also the way to maintain your business value until the next generation. The second one is startup business. We are teaching about how to design your business from the beginning or very early stage, and also how to maintain your business. But not only that, we also give an insight about how to grow your business. And the third is corporate entrepreneur. This one is for you guys who want to become a professional by build your own career as entrepreneur worker on established worldwide company. Besides that 3 success paths, you can also choose the 7 specialization program according to your business sector that you are interested. Now, let's watch the video.
Si itu mana?
And then
Ian punya nih.
Hai, kami akan mengajak kalian berkenalan dengan Kampus Ciputra School of Business Makassar.
Kampus Ciputra School of Business Makassar menawarkan program studi International Business Management dengan 7 pilihan spesialisasi.
Yang pertama ada International Business Management atau yang biasa kita singkat dengan IBM. Nah, di sini mahasiswa akan mempelajari bagaimana suatu perusahaan, brand, target pasar, keuangan, sumber daya manusia, hingga promosi agar dapat berfungsi secara maksimal.
Yang kedua, ada Communication Business Management atau biasa disingkat dengan COM, di mana mahasiswa akan mempelajari kemampuan berbisnis dan berkarir dalam bidang media dan komunikasi.
Kemudian yang ketiga ada Culinary Business Management atau yang biasa kita singkat dengan CBM. Spesialisasi ini mahasiswa akan diajarkan keahlian dalam hal leadership dan manajemen di bidang bisnis kuliner.
Yang keempat, ada Digital Business Management atau yang biasa disingkat dengan DBM. Dalam spesialisasi ini, mahasiswa akan mempelajari bisnis dan teknologi digital yang berkembang saat ini.
Yang kelima ada Hotel and Tourism Business Management atau yang biasa kita singkat dengan HTB. Nah, pada spesialisasi ini mahasiswa nantinya akan mempelajari tentang finance, perencanaan, organisasi perusahaan melalui praktek di industri hotel atau tour, dan travel atau event promotion.
Yang keenam, ada spesialisasi Fashion Business Management atau biasa disingkat dengan FBM. Dalam spesialisasi ini, mahasiswa akan fokus mengembangkan ide, menciptakan brand fashion sendiri, hingga bekerja dalam industri fashion dan retail.
Nah, yang ketujuh atau yang terakhir ada Real Estate Business Management atau yang biasa kita singkat dengan REB. Nah, pada spesialisasi ini memberikan pembelajaran yang sangat lengkap di bidang industri properti berdasarkan pengalaman Ciputra Group sendiri.
Yuk,
Apa lagi?
gabung di Kampus Ciputra School of Business Makassar dan pilih spesialisasi yang cocok sama kamu. Salam entrepreneur!
Okay, that's our 7th specialization. And today, this is our first forum webinar. And we'll be led by marvelous moderator. They are Mrs. Yuyun Swade and Mr. Topan Giordano. Hi. You can guys see, as you can guys see. Also already joined with us, Mr. Tiger Fong as our keynote speaker. He will give us more insight about the importance of the business plan for startup beginner. Our Mr. Tiger Fong is Mr. Tiger Fong is the CEO of Cargo Tech. And hi, Mr. Tiger.
Hello.
Time is yours.
All right. Do we have a presentation going on here?
Wait a minute.
All right, while you pull this up, selamat siang, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Tiger. I'm CEO, co-founder of Cargo Technologies. Terz, are you pulling up the presentation? Awesome, awesome. And today, I'm just sharing very quickly with everybody a little bit more about Cargo and how we started this business almost 2.5 years ago. I'll take you through a little bit of my journey as an entrepreneur, and hopefully some valuable lessons I've learned along the way. And I'm really looking forward to the Q&A chat with you all afterwards. So I started my career. I am Chinese American. I'm from Hawaii originally, so I've been in Indonesia now for almost 7 years. But saya bahasa Indonesia not very good. But I started my career in New York on the trading floor. And what I'm about to show you guys is really my experience of a move away from analog to digital. And on the left, you see sort of stock traders back then. If you see on TV, everybody used to trade stocks with pieces of paper. And when I started my career in New York, we moved to digital trading, which is on your right. Next page. And next slide, please. And when I came to Southeast Asia for the first time, I started Lazada in Thailand. And this is a mall that you see today in Bangkok, actually. And no one is at the mall anymore. It's because of COVID. It's because, why do you want to go shop at the mall when you can click and order an e-commerce right away and get it delivered to your home, right? So that's also a form of shifting from analog to digital. Next slide, please. I then went to China for a little while, and I started Uber there. Before I started Uber in China, I also started it in Indonesia, in Jakarta. And if you go into a city, in Makassar, we also had Uber before we left. But back then, people, and when I say back then, this is 2014, people used to line up and wait for a taxi. If you go to Jakarta today, if you go to anywhere, any big cities in the world, you don't line up for taxis when it's raining anymore. You press a button, right? You have Grab, you have Gojek. And I thought that was another way of shifting from analog, which is what we do on a day-to-day basis, right? Which is very much sort of you raise your hand, to shifting it to digital. Next slide. This is what we're doing at Cargo. And this is a actual picture of Tanjung Priok in Jakarta, which is the port. And every one of these trucks lined up needs a physical piece of paper, for the driver to hand to, wherever they're unloading and loading these, big containers. And that piece of paper is called a POL, a proof of lading. And the driver needs to take that piece of paper to the warehouse they're driving to and physically give it to the warehouse manager to sign with wet paper and ink before they physically have to take that piece of paper back to our office in order for us to get billed. And so we think that Cargo today is really trying to transform that to a digital, really a digital, sort of economy. And so I think this will be my last slide, but I think, for a startup definition to me is a new business, right? Anything that's new, that's trying to find a way to scale itself, to find product market fit. And I'll talk a little bit about what that means. But when we saw that this is a problem, we're trying to come up with a solution that people will pay for, right? And that's how we sort of make a business. And so the business for cargo is that we want to be a digital marketplace for anybody who needs to book a truck to come to our website, to come to our app. And just like how you book a Gojek or a GoFood or GrabFood, we want businesses to be able to click a button, and we want to send a truck, and we want to load anything. We do deliveries for some of the biggest FMCG, your Coca-Cola, Unilever, all the way to a manufacturer, a textile manufacturer, maybe from a small town that wants to export their goods. And we want you to be able to come onto our platform and be able to book a truck. And so that's really what cargo is all about. I really hope that I can share with you guys a little bit of my sort of journey on building cargo. A story I want to tell, and I think the slide is over. Turns out I think we can just cut off the PowerPoint. I don't need the PowerPoint anymore. Some of the problems that I think logistics in Indonesia faces, it actually stemmed from a trip that I took to Sulawesi. I went to Toraja and just wanted to check out Toraja back in 2018. And when I found, beautiful place. We're high in the mountains, just really, really great scenery, great people. And we were talking to some weavers that were weaving, Toraja weaving, which is, back in the day, I think it was one of the biggest exports. And something that really struck me was it costs more money to ship weaving from Toraja, from the mountains in Sulawesi to Jakarta. It costs more money than it is for merchants in Jakarta to import those weaving directly from China, which is thousands and thousands of miles away. It's a different country, a different language. And I think that really sort of talks a little bit about the logistics problem that we have in Indonesia, which is, gosh, it's just really expensive. And so, one of the real mission for cargo as a company is that we want to make sure that our system, that our product, our technology really brings down the logistics cost, right? And so, a weaver in Toraja, a textile manufacturer, whether that's in Bandung or somewhere else, right, in Indonesia, can ship cheaply, not just to domestic consumption, but to customers sort of all over the world. So that's sort of our mission. And we're really starting to, it's a long journey. It's not going to happen overnight. And it really takes, a lot of hard work for this to happen, right? So number one, most important, sort of big challenge about us is that, we have to give all the truck driver an app, a phone, right? Maybe sometimes they have phones, sometimes they don't. We have to be able to track their GPS. We have to train them on how to use this. These are all sort of the challenge that we face. And, we have to have really, really great technology, because sometimes when you're out in the roads, when you're delivering things to a different island, you're not going to get cell phone reception. You're not going to get 3G and 4G like we're all used to in the city. So how can we have really sort of, technologically enabled ways for us to get that data, back to our system? I think, some of the other challenges that we also face is that, we need people, right? We need people on the ground. We are really keen to invest and expand to Sulawesi. We know that Sulawesi has a great port in Makassar. We know that there's many, many great cities and that needs trucking. But we are looking for people. And so, if you think that joining a startup, which is going to be crazy, which is, you're always sort of fighting fires, and you're always sort of, trying to build the next technology that someone is able to adopt. We love to hear from you, because I think we don't have any sort of team ready in Sulawesi, and we always need great people. And maybe this is, one of our ways that we want to hire people is from the University of Business. We really hope that the mission of Cargo inspires people in the audience here, and that you give our product a try and you reach out to us to see if you want to join our team. No, thank you. That's just a little bit about Cargo that I like to share for now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tiger Fong, for many explanation about your business. And then, okay, I will give you more introduction about Mr. Tiger Fong. And then, in Universitas Ciputra School of Business Makassar, we also have, they already joined with us. I wanna introduce you to Universitas Ciputra School of Business Makassar lecturers. They are already joined with us now, but let's take a peek of them by watching the next video. Here you are. That's our lecturers, and not only that, I also want to introduce you to the representative from Student Counselor on Marketing Team of Universitas Ciputra School of Business Makassar. To Miss Cecilia Dewi, are you there? Okay. Hi, Miss Cecilia.
I'm here.
Hi, Miss.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Okay. Now, without further ado, let's start our discussion today. To Mrs. Yuyun Suade dan Mr. Topan. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, hello.
Okay. And then, hello, Mr. Tiger. I'm Sopan in here. Okay. And then, we have already heard about your explanation about the cargo tech, but I just want to inform you that most of our participants today is high school students and then the college student. And then, as we know that their English is not fluent enough. And then, so maybe before we start about the discussion, maybe you can explain. I will ask to you about to explain it again. And then Miss Yun will be start to asking you several questions in here, Mr. Tiger. Thank
Okay, thank you, Mr. Topan. Hello, Mr. Tiger. My name
Hello.
is Yun. Okay, and I am one of Ciputra University lecturer. So I want to ask you, how are you today?
Baik. Doing very well.
Okay, baik. So, where are you staying right now, Mr. Tiger? Is it Indonesia or in Singapore?
I'm in Jakarta.
Oh, Jakarta. So I heard that you ever already visit to Toraja in South Sulawesi.
Yes.
It's like 7 until 8 hours from Makassar, I guess. And I want to ask you, what is your impression about Toraja, especially?
Oh wow, it was beautiful. I didn't know this, but Toraja used to be the second most popular tourist destination in
That's right.
Indonesia after Bali, and so I was blown away. I was really impressed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Tiger, based on your explanation at the beginning of your presentation, we are already read about your profile, of course, and experience before. You must have a lot of insight and advice to share. Here is with us. Okay, first thing first. So I want to ask you a very basic question. Can you explain to us again what it is startup definition to you, or you can give us some of your opinion?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. So, startup to me is a business at the very beginning of its life. It's like if a business is a person, startup is when you're a baby. So you don't know how to talk, you don't know how to run, you don't know how to do anything. I just had a baby myself, so I know exactly who I'm referring to here, and so that's kind of like a business as a startup. You have a idea. Someone, usually the entrepreneur, wants to solve a problem. They identify a problem or a hole in the market, and you're trying to solve this problem by making a business, which means that you're generating sustainable income for this business to be able to go and tackle this problem. So this is what we call trying to find a business model that you can make money. And number two is trying to find product market fit. So this is what is the product that you're trying to sell to fix this problem. And so that's generally how I think about startups. So startups can be anything, right? It can be a warung on the side of the street. That can be a startup, right? A startup can be a technology company. This is what Cargo is today. A startup could be a family business. You could want to be a trader. You could want to buy things from Toraja and sell it in Jakarta. That could be your startup. And so it really sort of can be a big category.
Okay, thank you very much. Based on your explanation, is there any specific business sector or industry that startup can enter the market, or it doesn't have any specific business or industry? Can you give us your opinion from that?
Yeah, so as I've just sort of try to lay out, a startup can be anything. It can be any business in any sector, right? In any industry. But I think I spent my career really in technology startups, right? And so if you think of all of the biggest technology companies that everybody uses today, maybe Google, Facebook, TikTok, these were all startups at once, right? These were all just ideas that someone had that was trying to solve a problem, and they made that into a business. And so startups really can be anything, but my specialty has been how to use technology. How do we use technology in the sense, and technology is also very broad, right? Because anything can be a technology. But in my case, technology is sort of on the cloud and the web, right? Digitalization. That's the type of startups I like to build.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tiger. And next question, I will give it to Mr. Topan.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Tiger. Thank you for the explanation about the startup definition from you. And then for the next question, maybe can you please tell us about the stories on how you built your own startup, which is Cargo Tech? Maybe from the previous, based on your presentation, you have already told us about the story of Cargo Tech, but can you please tell us again about the story on your how your own build your own startup? Thank you.
Yeah, do you want the long version or the short version? No, I'm kidding. Startups and building businesses, there's really sort of like two big factors. Number one is you have to have a plan, right? You have to know what you're good at, what is the problem, that you are uniquely situated to solve, and how do you make money, right? So the way I think about it is, there's three circles. There is what I'm good at, right? I could be good at video games, I could be good at driving, whatever it is, right? What sort of what is a big problem in the world, right? And the third circle is what makes money. And a startup business idea is where all three sections intersect, right? So I could be very good at video games, but what kind of problem does that solve? I don't know. It's like entertainment, right? I really like watching Marvel movies. Like, what is the problem that solves? I don't know. I can watch a movie. That's not really a big problem. And then how can I make money by watching a movie? I don't know. It's probably not a business, right? And so I think there's a lot of just knowing what you're good at and knowing what the community, the city that you're in, what kind of problems there needs to be solved. And then what makes money? I think is just an ongoing exercise that I really loved, to basically talk about with my friends, with my professors, and with anybody that had a general interest. And then I think it's so if you find if you find the intersection of all three circles, right? So this is for me is like, I'm pretty good. I think I'm pretty good at building marketplaces, right? Build e-commerce. I'm pretty good at business operations. What is a big problem? Well, logistics in Indonesia is a big problem, right? It's very expensive. I've given you the example of it costs more to actually ship something from Toraja than from China. And what makes money is, well, logistics. Logistics is a big industry. And so can I apply all of these things, to a specific business? And the answer for that was cargo, and it was a yes. And I think that's sort of how I thought about it. And then you have to be, the second part of this is really comes down to luck. And what is the opportunity that's available to you at that specific time and at that specific place. And so for me, I started Uber Indonesia when Uber left Southeast Asia back in 2017. I had a lot of teammates that now I work with at Cargo. And so if Uber didn't leave, there wouldn't have been the right time, right? And if I wasn't in Indonesia, it wouldn't be the right place. And so, a lot of that also has to do with just being at the right place at the right time, which, some people will call it fate. Some people will call it, luck. And I think that's a big, part of it as well.
Okay. There is a very good story from you, Mr. Tiger. And then let me ask you about the team component of the startup, which is let me ask you first, and then are you a single fighter when you build your own startup, or you have a team?
Oh, I don't think there's many anything in greatness, right? Anything that's great is never just one person.
Okay.
And so there might be a star athlete, right? But there's many star athletes that was the best on their team, but never made a name for themselves and never won, right? And so I think that's the same thing when it comes to business, and especially when it comes to startups. In a startup, maybe it's just you and your co-founder and maybe a very small team, right? And so you have to do everything. And I remember in the early days, I had to go talk to customers. I had to do fundraising. I had to, talk to lawyers to set up the company. well, who's actually building the company? It was my co-founder. My co-founder was the person building the website, doing the coding, getting the app, out to our customers. And so you absolutely need a team. And I'm very, very happy and just very blessed to have some of the best people in Indonesia that I've ever worked with be on the same team at Cargo.
Okay, that's a very interesting story from you. And then, how can you found how you could find the right team to build your own cargo tech? Because you have to find the hacker, you have to find the hustler, and then the hipster. And then, can you tell us about what is their specialty for the hacker and then for the hipster to build your own startup?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that you have these roles or names.
Yes.
I think in the startup for me, you just want smart people, smart, motivated, people that are just you know who they are. They get things done, and they don't need you to say, hey, you do this, let me track you, right? Let me fill in a time card. They know what to do. And so those are the type of people that I like to hire. And I think it's absolutely essential, for an early stage of a company to have those people, because you're going to wear many hats. And what I mean by that is, when we first started, we need to, build an app. And, we were trying to find engineers. And so I needed to be a recruiter. I needed to go on LinkedIn, and I needed to go and, every day I want to send 100 people. Hey, my name is Tiger. I'm starting a company called Cargo. I love to have a coffee with you and talk about, what you want to do next, right? So I was the chief recruiter. When we found some engineers, I had to go do sales. We had to go land our first accounts, right? Customers. So we went to big enterprises like Coca-Cola, Unilever, and that's I was the chief sales guy. I need to go and sell our product. Then we needed to go fundraise, right? We need to get some investments. So I became the CFO. And so we can't hire for all of this stuff. And I think you just have to be motivated, and you have to go and be able to do some of this stuff and learn some of this stuff on the job. And I think that's probably one of the best parts about being a startup, is that you get to learn on the job.
Okay, that's very, very interesting. And then for us, Mr. Tiger, can you tell us about the value of the innovation at Cargotech as a startup company? Maybe you can tell us about what is the main value of your Cargotech, to share it with us. The value or the innovation. Why you say that is the leading cargo logistic company in Indonesia?
Yeah, so I think it comes from first our vision, right? Which is we think that technology is really going to change the game, right? For trucking and for logistics. I shared in the beginning of my presentation, technology has done that for taxis. Technology has done that for e-commerce. Technology has done that for other marketplaces of financial sort of like markets, right? And so we think that it's not just a question of if this will happen in Indonesia, but it's a question of when, right? And who's going to be able to do it. And so I think when you have that boat of an idea, which is, look, every single truck in Indonesia is going to have Cargo's driver app. Every single truck in Indonesia, we can see exactly where they are. We can see real GPS tracking, real-time location. We know exactly what cargo they're holding. We know the inventory and the stock of everything that's in these assets. That's a very hard thing to do, right? And so when we have that vision, we're able to attract, I think people who think, yeah, that sounds like a great vision. That sounds like something I want to spend my time doing. To increase, digital adoption and to lower the logistics costs in Indonesia. That's country building, right? I'm doing something great for my country, because if logistics cost goes down, then items cost of goods go down, the cost of selling abroad, and so industries come up, right? Like everything evolves around logistics. And so I think it first starts with a bold vision and a bold mission. Then you find the best people that you can who wants to work towards that vision, right? And then I think, look, Indonesia, it's got one of the most challenging and most diverse geographies in the world. If we can create a business in Indonesia, we can go anywhere in the world. And so our vision is that Cargo is going to be really an Indonesian technology company that's built in Indonesia by Indonesians, but built for the rest of the world. So we have ambitions, and so when you have that, I think that's really the secret sauce, because I think I hear a lot about like, hey, we want to just be a profitable company. Hey, we want to IPO, and then that's it. Well, I think those are great things, but my ambition for Cargo is that it's really going to be a technology company that's going to be bigger than any other technology companies to come out of Indonesia.
Okay. Is it your product or service has been launched to the market today?
Yes, absolutely. These are our trucks that have our software in the background.
How long had been your product has been launched to the market?
Yeah, we launched to the market in February of 2019. So it's been about 2 years, two years and a half.
And then how long it takes for you or the Cargotech to build that technology? Because I think that your value and then your technology is one of the most high-tech technology in the logistic industry in Indonesia. How long it take for you to build the technology for your company?
Well, Toban, it's never done, right?
It's
like it's never done. So we are still building. We have a backlog of almost 6 months to a year of new things that we still have to build. So we're hiring engineers, we're hiring programmers, we're hiring product managers, we're hiring designers, data scientists. We have a long way to go. The product is still a baby.
Oh, can I ask you what is your vision or what is your vision about the Cargotech product? It is, I think that your product has been already product market fit. You think is that your product has been touched the market fit?
Yeah. So our first product is basically a marketplace for trucks, right? So the easiest way to think about it is, it's Gojek, but instead of calling for an ojek, you call for big trucks, and instead of to consumers, it's to businesses. So our customers are some of the biggest enterprises, in the world: Coca-Cola, Unilever. We also have a relationship with some of the biggest biggest consumer packaged goods in Indonesia: Mayora, Kino, Wings Group. We also serve e-commerce, right? We serve Shopee, we serve JD.id. And so that's our first product. And for us, trucking is like books for Amazon. It's a very American analogy, but if you imagine, Amazon.com, which is the biggest tech company in the world with $1 trillion market cap, they started selling books, right? They were an online bookstore, and so we think trucking is to Cargo as books is to Amazon, and so we're just getting started with trucks.
Okay. So your vision is to become the next Jeff Bezos of the logistics sector. And then, okay, Mr. Tiger, based on your experience, based on your knowledge, and then based your own expertise on the startup, I think that you can please share here with us, and then based on your experience as a startup founder, on how can you create your own value or startup? Maybe some advice for the participant, for the young generation about how we can create the great value, just like your technology and cargo tech. Maybe you can share it with us based on your experience.
Yeah, number one, guys, if you are looking to study and continue education, please do so. You have a great school, that is the University of Ciputra Business School, but really try to pick up a technical skill. What Indonesia is really lacking today is good programmers, engineers. That is something that every startup that I've ever met says Indonesia needs more of. I think Nadine, right, who is now the Ministry of Education, understands that, right? I think he's very passionate about teaching math and engineering and science in Indonesia. So if it's possible, learn how to do that, because I think that's really going to be a very big skill set that's in demand. Number two, I think when I heard Stefan from you that there's a lot of high school kids and maybe students entering into university. I would say try to work in sectors and in companies that are growing. So what I mean by that is there's this thing called leverage, which is how do you get so the easiest way for me to explain leverage is if you surf and a wave comes, right? You paddle really, really hard and the big waves push you and you go faster, right? And so what you want to do is you want to surf the waves of fast growing industries. So what I mean by that is, logistics is very fast growing, right? E-commerce is very fast growing. Indonesia is a very fast growing country, right? So go to, a sector that's fast growing and work for a company that's fast growing, and you will become fast growing, right? The best way for you to advance in your career is to build it, right? That's it. Like if you want to, have a future, yes, you can depend on someone else. You can work for somebody, right? Or you can build your own future. And that's what we really believe at Cargo, which is, I think this vision of a digital logistics network, no one else is, no one has built it. And it is not going to exist by itself. And we think that at Cargo, we're going to be the first to build it in Indonesia. And so I think, Cargo is riding on the wave of e-commerce. It's riding on the wave of, there's a lot of really affordable Android phones, right? So mobile phones is really going up in Indonesia. And internet is getting cheaper and cheaper, right? So these mobile, commerce and mobile sort of digitally enabled devices. These are all the things that has to happen and has to be true in order for Cargo to exist and for Cargo to grow fast. And so, use that and apply that to your own careers, right? And number three is, look, guys, like nothing beats hard work, right? I don't come from a rich family. My parents were Chinese immigrants to the United States. We started, being a maid at people's house. I had to clean house when I was young. My co-founder, Yodi, he, comes from a village in Eastern Java, has never went abroad for university. And we met in Jakarta and, we talked about ideas. We talked about how technology can make logistics more efficient. How can logistics be more efficient and what good that will do and what kind of business we can build. And now, we are building a great business with almost 150 full-time employees, and we have almost 5,000 trucking companies registered on our platform, over 50,000 trucks. And so, look, you don't need, you don't need connections. You don't need, to come from a rich family. You just have to work hard, and I really believe in that. And so, if you work hard, you study hard, you work, and you build, you have the vision to build your own future. Definitely do it, and you'll find people who have that same vision. You'll find them, and I think together, that's how you change the world.
Okay, Mr. Tiger, I think that is your story is very inspirational for us because that as you said before that you're not come from you're not from the rich family. So let me ask you a question about your cargo tech. As we know that the cost on build the startup is not cheap, and then so how can you funding your cargo tech?
Yeah. So I think the questions around fundraising and how do you get funding for your business, which is a great question. Look, the best businesses in the world funds itself, right? If people are willing to pay, a lot of money for cargo's trucks, I wouldn't even need to raise any money, right? And so that was ultimately the goal. We said, hey, we can pay ourselves nothing between me and Yodi. Yodi will do the programming and the website. I will do the sales. And Unilever is going to pay us millions of dollars for us to do this for Unilever. But that didn't turn out to be the case. We actually have to invest into building technologies. We have to code our driver's app. We have to code all of our we have to code the application, right? And then we have to go hire salespeople. And then there's a working capital. And for those that's getting too technical, basically, we have to pay truck owners. And we will get paid from our customers later. It's called terms of payment. And so, we need this, for this business to start, we need capital. And that's why we have to go find investors, right? So that is one way of building a business. It's not the only way, right? You don't need to go and raise money if you want to be a seller on Shopee or on Lazada, right? And you don't need to raise money if from investors, if you want to open up your own, koskosan. And so I think it's very different for different business. For our specific business, we needed to raise money, and so that's a decision that we made as a team.
Maybe Bu Yuyun, there is a question. Do you want to ask another question to Mr. Tiger?
I think we have one more video from Ciputra University Makassar. Can you play the video?
I'm going to be honest with you. I came to the Apple Developer Academy at UC with one goal. I want to be a world-class developer. Pretty straightforward, right? But it was only after joining that I understood what it means to be a real world-class developer. It's so much more. Let's say each one of these origamis represent an idea.
We want young people like us to have better financial responsibility. Our app helps millennials understand how to read company reports and make good decisions about the local Indonesian stock market.
We love Japan and we would love to be able to write kanji. So we made this one app using machine learning to help people learn math faster.
Unlike my mom, I don't know how to pick the best fruit, so we created an app to choose fruit based on ripeness using artificial intelligence.
Anyone can use this app, even those with sight impairment.
We have many more ideas.
Here, world-class developers are defined by their abilities to learn new skills and to solve real problems. So it's all about how you apply yourself and impact your community. Come and join Apple Developer Academy at UC. We'll take you on an exciting learning journey to craft your own career.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tiger. You already told us about your experience, how you get your funding, and also the right team. So I want to ask you, can you tell us again, what is the most challenge thing for you when you are building your own startup from the first?
Yeah, I think
the most challenge. Okay.
I think when it comes to logistics and building cargo, the most challenging thing is trying to decide what not to do. And there's just so many problems. Like emerging markets like Indonesia is not like the US, right? Where there's already 10 different people all doing the same thing, hyper competitive. There's just not a lot of space for entry. But in Indonesia, I think there's so much opportunity. And as a startup, you often find that, oh, we're solving this problem. Oh, but by the way, this other problem is very close to it. And we also have to solve that. And then, sooner or later, you're buying trucks, you're renting warehouses, maybe you're renting an airplane, and then you're also renting a boat to just to do, all the logistics, right? And so that is definitely something we don't want to do. And so, we want to remain focused on lorries, on trucking. We want to, remain pretty focused. Today, our service area is really just Java, Sumatra, Selatan, and Bali for now. Hopefully pretty soon Sulawesi. And it's basically saying no to opportunities that come up because you want to use the limited resources you have to solve the problem that's right in front of you. And so I think that's been really tough for us to do, because I want to do everything. Yes, we want to do this, we want to do this, we want to do this. We want to build it now. We want to hire 100 more people. But unfortunately, that's it really makes my team angry. But it also means that we're not focused enough on solving the problem that's closest to us, which means that we're not going to be the best at any specific sector that we're trying to win, and that's more important than doing everything at the same time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tiger.
Oh, okay, Mr. Tiger. By the challenge that you have been faced, so I want to ask you: is that you are using the business plan to build when you are building your startup from the first time?
Yeah, this is actually the most interesting question that I wanted to answer, which is, failing to plan is basically planning to fail, right? But in a startup, you're almost always never, and I say never, going to actually do the things that you plan to do, because the market will hit you. There's 1,000 different things that will all come flying at you at the same time. And what you think you're going to do, what you thought will happen, almost never happens, right? But that doesn't mean you don't plan, except, and planning is actually one of the most important things you can do with your time, because it helps you to think through all the scenarios. It helps you to structure your thoughts. It helps you to focus on what's important, right? But the most important thing at a startup is that, after you plan, that's when the real fun starts happening, right? Because you plan for something to happen, it won't happen. I guarantee you it won't happen, right? And that's when you have to start, being light on your feet. You have to problem solve. And it goes back to my original point of look, I can go hire, a programmer. I can go hire, someone that has been in logistics before, and we do, right? But when it never goes according to plan, right, you really just need people who are smart, who are critical thinkers to help problem solve. And that's the most important skill set that we interview for at Cargo, which is, are you a problem solver, right? I'm gonna give you a case to solve right now that you've never heard before, and I wanna hear you think through how you're gonna solve this problem. And I think that's the most important characteristic to have at a startup.
Okay, I think most of the academic in Indonesia is teaching about the business model canvas. Have you already heard, and I know that you have already heard about the business model canvas, and then what is the meaning of business model canvas for you for the startup founder like you?
Yeah, I think it's it's something to know and understand, right? Like, in finance, if you want to work in finance, you have to know how to read accounting. You have to know how to read a balance sheet, an income statement, a cash flow statement, right? And so for me, like, if you want to get into business, understanding, business model canvassing, SWOT analysis, like some of these more theoretical stuff that you learn in school, you have to just understand how it works, right? Doesn't mean that you're going to apply after you do a business model canvas and apply the exact thing to your business, and that's what's going to make it succeed. No, it doesn't, right? But it does mean that, for you to understand the value of your business, who's doing it today, what are the values that a business or your competitive business is bringing to the market, and how you're different. I think it's really just basic things. And so, I think at Cargo, in the very early days, we did a very quick business model canvas in my mind, and I drew up the business plan, and that's how I got investors' money, right? Okay. That's how I started building Cargo. But I think it's something that we do now at least once a year, which is we look back, at what we did and what we achieved in the last year, and are the things that we're doing still worthwhile? Is our hypothesis right? Do we think that's what the customer want, and is that really what they want, right? I think it's an important exercise for us to do.
Oh, okay. Mr. Yun, I think there is some question that you want to ask to Mr. Tiger. Please asking to Mr. Tiger.
Okay, maybe this is the same question before with my first question. So, can you share with us about your opinion about what is the most challenging things for startup beginner to build their own startup? Same with the last question before, but that's for us, for startup beginner.
Yeah, so I think it really depends on what kind of startup, right? So tech startup for me is super interesting because the barrier to entry is very low. You just need to find someone who can code, make a website, make an app, go online to to create a store, and you have basically instant distribution to the internet, right? Which I think is one of the most powerful things about technology and internet businesses. So it depends on what you want to do. I would say, take your time, right? Take your time to do the business model camp, go talk to customers, which is something that I definitely do not do enough of these days, and really figure out is this a problem that you want to spend the rest of your life solving, right? Because it's going to be ups and downs. You're going to have great days. You're going to have great quarters. You're going to have great years, right? But you're going to have sucky quarters, right? Like there's COVID. Like no one would have ever thought COVID, was going to happen, right? And so, if you're in an airlines or travel industry and COVID hits, like, there's really not a lot of ways you can prepare for, what the actual market is going to give you. And so the thing that you have to do, you really kind of just got to be interested in doing it, right? Like you're not just doing it for, oh, I can make a quick, buck. Like this is actual problem that is worth solving, and find that problem. It took me, almost 6 months to find Cargo after doing a lot of different business model canvassing, at least in my head, of businesses that I wanted to create. And remember, I talk about the circles, right? What you're good at, what problem needs solving, and what makes money. And I think that's, I was very thankful that I didn't jump into the first thing that came to me, and that I thought very carefully about what is the problem that Cargo is trying to solve, how big is the opportunity, and is this something that I would want to do forever? And then the answer is yes, right? And that's why I sort of started the company.
I think I'm a little bit agree with your opinion about the challenges. What is the most challenging things for the startup? And then maybe can you tell us about your opinion about tell us about the future of startup in Indonesia for your next generation in here. I think you can give them a spirit to or motivate them. Can you please, Mr. Tiger?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think this is the golden age of startups in Indonesia. There's just been no better time ever, right? For someone to learn how to code, for someone to take an idea from ideation, to actual execution, right? You have AWS, which has severely brought down the cost for you to launch something. You have last mile logistics. You can order or grab right away and be able to deliver, right? So the infrastructure is there for anybody with that drive and the entrepreneurial spirit, right, to want to go and solve problems. And there's so many problems to solve in Indonesia, in Southeast Asia, and so. I think this is no better time. I think if you're an entrepreneur, you find a problem, and you're the best at solving this problem, you will find investors. You will find teammates who share in your passion, and you'll find supporters of your dream. And so I really do think that there's no better time than today in Indonesia. I would also just say that, look, you're young and there's a lot of time. Time is something that you have on your side, right? And you don't have to jump into starting a business right away. I didn't, right? I went to a big company. I worked for a bank. Then I worked for a startup in Lazada. I went to a startup in Uber. And so, if there are opportunities for you to join, someone else's startup, like Cargo, you should do that, because, you're going to learn all the craziness that happens, at a place like Cargo. And, we really want to, help folks and our team to think critically, to be problem solvers. And we want to support people who eventually go and be their own entrepreneurs. And we have had a couple of folks now that were part of Cargo, and they went on and built their own business that I also invested in. And I think that's a great part of the startup ecosystem here in Indonesia, is that people really help each other out and are very encouraging of folks to go and start their own business.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tiger. Mr. Tiger, I think Leonie have some question for you. Leonie, maybe you want to ask Mr. Tiger question? Hello, Leonie.
Hello, me. Okay, hello everybody. Good evening, and thank you for the occasion that have given to me. And before I'm going to explain my question and introduce myself, I want to say hello to Mr. Tiger and some lecturers. That is Mr. Tony, Mr. Agus, Mr. Erwin, Mr. Topan, and all of the participants here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry before, because I think my English is not really good, but I'm still trying to improve my English better. Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Leonie Jaslyn Irawan. I'm a prospective new student at Ciputra University Makassar. And let me talk a little bit first about the statement that is, when we want to build a small or large business startup, of course, we need a good networking to be able to promote our startup business, maybe from a simple or from a small society until a big society or various circles. My question is, expansion of the startup business, especially for the startup business that is engaged in services, which currently, certainly we know that we have limited space to interaction with other people, and nowadays like competitors are increasing day by day. That is like a new challenge for us. So what do you think about that situation, and what is your solution about it? Thank you, sir.
Hey, sorry, I think there was a little bit of noise and I didn't catch some of what you said, but if I can repeat the question back to you and let me know what I'm missing. So you're saying that you're operating you're thinking about starting a business in a space where you see a lot of competition, and you think that having a good network is the key to winning. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct, sir.
Yeah. Look, I think don't be discouraged, right? Like anything that's worth doing, any business that's worth building, you're going to have competitors. In fact, if you don't have competitors, that's actually a time for you to ask yourself, like, what's going on? Why is there no competitors? Is that, do I have something wrong? Do I have data that's wrong about this industry, right? And so competition is a good thing because it helps to make you sharper. You have to compete for customers, which means that you're going to innovate, around your product and your business. So it might be discouraging, but I think competition, you cannot run away from it. Anything worth doing, you're going to have competition. And so what you need to ask yourself is, how are you going to win, right? And so having connections, look, I get it. Yes, it's important, right? It's important because it gets you in the door, right? You might want to meet a supplier or vendor. Maybe you want to meet the government official. And so it's easy. If you have connections, you get introduced right away, right? But guess what beats connections almost every single time? And that is hard work. Because if you are truly, if you're truly an entrepreneur, you're going to get that meeting, right? You're going to have to spend some time. You're going to have to ask around. You're going to have to think creatively of how you're going to meet this person. But, I see you, Leonie, you're an entrepreneur person, right? And you're going to find a way. And the best entrepreneurs always finds a way. And it's that spirit that's going to ultimately help you win. And so don't worry about competition. Focus on your customers. Focus on what you're good at, what you're better at than anybody else, right? And if someone's getting a meeting because they know somebody, so what, right? Like you'll have to find a way, for it to work, because sooner or later that connection, right? That network is not going to help to have better customer service. That connection is not going to help, to answer your customers' complaints at 3 a.m, right? It's because of your passion, it's because of your work, your hard work, that's ultimately going to help you make the best business to serve your customers.
Okay, thank you, sir, for the great answer.
Okay, thank you to Mr. Topan and Mrs. Yuyun for successfully led our discussion today. Also to Mr. Tiger, I need to take off my hat for sharing his recipe sauce today to build your own business startup. And then I want to remind you guys, we have attendance link in chat bar. Can you please fill that? And then, okay. Now let's move on to some questions and answer. Would you, if you want to add something on Mr. Tiger Fong, you can write on chat bar. And I think too many, there are already many questions.
Okay, I think Ms. Tirza, there is some question from the participant. Mr. Tiger, there is one of our participant is asking to you about we are now living in the world of the digital minded, especially people who live in a big city, considering that the fact if we create any startup business in a rural area where people don't share this common mind with people who live in the city, how can we practically start our business there? As we who live in the city want to collaborate with the people in the rural area because have an idea, but they have the funding.
Yeah, totally. Look, I think there is certainly benefit of being in the city. And the benefit there is that, you know, your close proximity to capital, to other like-minded people, the talents, right? And so, you know, I always say, you know, I grew up in Hawaii, which is very small. It's very rural in the sense that, you know, it's an island, like in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And I chose to go to New York for my first job. You know, when I just graduated from college, I didn't know anybody there. I didn't, you know, have any family there. And I sort of went to test myself of like, can I survive and can I, you know, make a career for myself? And I think that was one of the best decisions of my life. And so I certainly, you know, I can't say everyone's situation is the same. I was very lucky to be able to have that. You know, I was able to save money and I was able to go to New York. But, you know, I would really recommend people, you know, if you have the opportunity to go to a city. You know, for example, Makassar. I'm sure you'll meet a lot of really like-minded sort of people. And that can give you some of the advantages that you said, right? Which is access to capital, access to talent, you know, access to technology, right? And so I would say if you have the opportunity, do that. I would also say that, look, the internet is a wonderful place. Almost everything that I've learned in school, you can probably learn from YouTube, really. And so, you know, nothing is going to beat that entrepreneurial hunger, that hustle to go out and find, how can I do this, right? How can someone somewhere around the world has probably done this. How can I find that person and email them, connect them on Facebook, tweet at them, right? And so I think those are all things that entrepreneurs are going to be able to do. And you know, I would just also say that, like, look, at the end of the day, an entrepreneur can't make excuses, right? Because the only thing that makes a business fail is because the entrepreneur gave up. And it's especially true for startups, right? It is usually the founder, the entrepreneur has said, okay, I'm not, you know, I give up, I'm going to do something else. And that's okay, right? I mean, doesn't, you know, sometimes you have to, I get it. But the game is not over until you put down, you know, until you sort of say it's over. And so, you know, being resourceful, you know, doing that yourself, like these are all traits that I think successful entrepreneurs have. And the one thing entrepreneurs successful entrepreneurs do is, or they don't do, is they don't find excuses and they find, ways to win. And I think that's been a super sort of, that's been a super good advice that I've received. And so I try not to, find, I try to live up to that myself.
Okay, maybe anyone wanna ask Mr. Tiger Fong again? Is there?
Yeah, I think I think I have maybe just time for one more question, if that's okay. It's been really, really fun, with you guys, but maybe one more question. I hope that's okay. And
yes.
Cool.
Okay, is anyone want to ask? And for everyone, we're having attendance link in chat bar. You can fill it, please. And is anyone want to ask again?
Okay, Mr. Tiger, there is someone sent me a direct message to asking you, and then he asking about if he doesn't have any interest on the technology, or they don't have any skill on the technology, how can he build the startup company that who identically with the technology? I think that is the people from urban area, they don't have any technology skill. I think what they have should do to build their own startup. Okay, that is his question. Maybe you can answer it, Mr. Tiger.
Dr. Bom, maybe that's a better question for you to answer. But I think I sort of think about, all the resources that's available on the internet, but I think you need to have access to internet, which, some people don't have. And so I am, aware of that fact. And so I think I am going to be biased in my answer because I, have only lived in cities and I have access to internet. And so, I think and try to get access, there's probably ways, right, that, going to, a public place where there's access to Wi-Fi, going to, I'm not sure, right? But I think a lot of what I've been saying is because, I've always had access to internet, and I realize that that's not a luxury for a lot of people. And so, a lot of my advice won't work if you don't, if you're struggling on that front. But maybe, Mr. Topan, what do you say as a teacher, as a student, when someone comes to you and says, I don't even have that. I don't even have a laptop, or I don't even have a computer. I don't even have access to electricity. Like, what do you say?
For me, as a lecturer, maybe I can give them a channel, or maybe I can introduce him to the expertise with my channeling, and then so they can learn about technology from the expertise, because I don't have any skills about the technology, but I have a lot of friends that I can introduce him to get know the people, to get know the accesses about the technology. Maybe about sure about that.
Okay, so there you go. That's the answer. You call up Mr. Topan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tiger. Okay, Tirsa, there is any question in here?
They already know. No one wanna ask. So, okay, thank you, Mr. Topan. This is our the end of our question and answer part. And then now, because I wanna, okay, let's take a selfie together again, guys. Let's take a virtual selfie together again. Can you turn on your camera first? Again, please. Okay. Let's take a selfie. And then can you give us the E sign? on the right hand, the entrepreneur sign. Okay. Okay, on the first side, 1, 2, 3. Okay, the second slide, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and the third slide, okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, thank you guys for your attention. And then, oh yeah, don't forget to follow our social media account to keep in touch with us and to keep the latest news and information from Universitas Ciputra Makassar. And on our Instagram account bio, there is a link for you guys to get directly connect to all of our social media. And then I will give it to Mrs. Yuyun to give us the conclusion of our discussion today. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Tirsa. And also, I'm sorry before, Mr. Tiger, I'm going to use Indonesian for maybe some of our participant here in Indonesia. Jadi kesimpulan kita pada webinar sore hari ini, teman-teman, definisi startup dari Mr. Tiger yaitu kita harus menggali, kalau kita menginginkan membangun sebuah bisnis startup, kita harus menggali dulu masalah yang ada nih. Jadi semua itu berdasarkan sebuah problem. Nah, dari masalah yang ada, kita akan memecahkan masalah tersebut tentunya dengan melihat sebuah peluang, gitu ya. Peluang apa? Peluang yang bisa mendatangkan uang, yang bisa mendatangkan money, dengan memberikan solusi atas masalah tersebut. Untuk apa? Agar kita bisa bisnis kita bisa mengalami keberlangsungan yang panjang gitu ya, dalam jangka panjang. Tentunya dalam hal ini bisnisnya Mr. Tiger menggunakan teknologi yang menjadi inovasinya sendiri. Nah, lalu selanjutnya teman-teman buat bisnis pemula nih, buat teman-teman yang penasaran sekali gimana sih dengan startup beginner. Jadi sebenarnya nggak ada bidang tertentu dalam bisnis startup itu yang harus dimasuki supaya berhasil bisnisnya. Tapi semua bidang itu bisa menjadi bisa dijadikan bisnis startup gitu ya teman-teman. Nah, terus dalam sebuah bisnis startup menurut Mr. Tiger sendiri sangat penting memiliki tim. Ya, kenapa? Artinya kita memiliki orang-orang yang smart gitu ya, yang sangat termotivasi dengan usaha kita, dengan produk yang kita jual. Dan tentunya apa? Kenapa kita harus memiliki mereka? Karena dan orang-orang tersebut itu kita kenal gitu teman-teman. Kita mengenal orang tersebut dengan baik. Jadi kita tahu mereka tuh harus ngapain gitu di bisnis kita. Nah, kalau kita kenal orang dengan baik ya mereka pasti akan loyal dengan kita. Seperti itu. Dan di sini juga Mr. Tiger tadi bilang ya teman-teman, Mr. Tiger tuh percaya. Jadi ketika dia memberikan inovasi dalam bisnisnya di bidang logistik dengan menggunakan teknologi, itu akan berdampak besar buat bisnis startup di bidang logistik. Kayak gitu. Lalu selanjutnya dalam hal pendanaan pun tadi yang pertanyaannya Mr. Topan about funding. Jadi menurut Mr. Tiger itu, Mr. Tiger percaya kalau dana itu nggak mungkin datang dengan sendirinya teman-teman. Jadi Mr. Tiger itu kerjasama dengan investor gitu ya. Supaya apa? Supaya ada modal juga. Jadi investor tersebut berinvestasi mulai dari gedungnya, dari aplikasi yang digunakan, sampai pemilik mobil-mobil truknya itu, teman-teman. Jadi dari situ bisnisnya dapat keuntungan dari pembelinya. Nah, dalam hal berbisnis pun sangat penting menyusun sebuah rencana bisnis. Makanya judulnya kita adalah The Importance of Business Plan. Kenapa teman-teman? Gimana bisnis ini bisa berjalan dengan baik? Kenapa kita mesti buat rencana? Kita bisa tahu nih gimana sih bisnis ini bisa berjalan dengan baik. Terus gimana kita bisa membangun konsep yang baik dari bisnis yang kita miliki. Terus Mr. Tiger percaya kita harus fokus dengan bisnis karena nggak semua rencana itu bisa berjalan dengan baik sesuai dengan yang kita inginkan. Memang pada dasarnya kita buat rencana di awal, tapi terkadang rencana itu pasti akan nyeleweng nih, akan minggir nih. Makanya kita harus fokus di tengah perjalanan. Lalu yang terakhir, Mr. Tiger juga paham banget nih teman-teman tentang bisnis model Kampus ya, adalah sebuah tools yang digunakan dalam merancang sebuah bisnis. Dan yang terpenting itu teman-teman yang mau menggunakan tools tersebut juga harus tahu dan paham cara kerjanya BMC. Kenapa harus paham ya? Karena kalau cuma sekedar tahu aja menurut Mr. Tiger itu tentunya nggak bisa membuat perencanaan lebih baik kayak gitu. Lalu value bisnis yang Mr. Tiger miliki sendiri itu fokus kepada gimana bisnis tersebut dapat diterima oleh pasar dan produknya itu berbeda dari yang lainnya. Itu aja. That's our conclusion today. So I'm gonna back to Miss Tirsa. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Yuyun and Mr. Topan. I wanna say thank you to Mr. Tiger to having us today and for your time and your recipe. And now, this is the end of our discussions today. And don't forget to follow our Instagram and our social media. It said so say this, but I want to say big thanks to Mr. Tony Antonio also and all lecturers and all of you guys for joining us today. And I want to say goodbye. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tiger.
Mr. Tiger,
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
I'm so very glad that you can join
Yes.
us today.
It was so much fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tegar. I'm so glad that you can join with us today for the webinar. Maybe we can ask you to the next CEO forum, maybe to get more insight from you to our students and then to our young generation.
Absolutely. Hopefully we can do it in Makassar next time.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Tiger. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tiger. See you all, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Sampai jumpa.
Bye-bye. Sampai jumpa.
어딘지